A wedding is supposed to be a joyful occasion, but this time it is overshadowed by a sense of impending doom. As the wedding bells are about to ring for Carla Connor and Lisa Swain, there is a growing feeling that someone will not be walking out alive, and the name most closely tied to that looming tragedy is Carl Webster. Debbie Webster has finally made the hardest and most decisive choice of her life, to cut Carl off completely, the son she only recently got back, yet who has already turned her life into a chain of pain. Carl is the kind of man so vile that even villains would keep their distance from him. From the moment he arrived in Weatherfield, he has brought chaos everywhere he went. He betrayed his brother, Kevin Webster, by getting involved with Abi Webster, then casually discarded her after destroying that marriage. He caused the hit and run that left Tyrone in a wheelchair, and he was also dragged into the Corriedale crash that led to Billy Mayhew's death. Most disturbing of all was the way Carl exploited Debbie's vascular dementia, manipulating her into carrying the blame for what he had done. That reveals exactly who Carl is. Not just selfish, but chillingly ruthless, a man with no moral boundary at all, willing to use even his own family as a shield as long as it keeps him safe. When Debbie discovered the devastating truth that the brother she had known for 39 years was actually her son, Carl immediately turned on the tears and played the broken, pitiful victim. But those tears were never enough to hide the truth that he still let Debbie go to prison, even as her condition visibly worsened. After her release, Carl wrapped himself in the image of a son who wanted to make amends and reconnect with his mother, but the closer one looked, the clearer it became that he was only after her money. To Carl, Debbie was no longer his mother, but the last wallet he could drain to pay off the mountain of debt created by his own terrible choices. Ronnie Bailey saw through that. Kevin knew exactly what kind of man his brother was. Ryan Connor had witnessed firsthand how Carl was taking advantage of Debbie at the hotel. And when Ronnie and Kevin began talking about the need to get Carl out of their lives for as long as possible, their hatred of him stopped being simple anger and became something much deeper and more dangerous. Summer Spellman was also drawn into the storm when she began to suspect Carl was connected to the crash that killed Billy. Carl knew a secret no one else did. Theo Silverton was the one who left Billy to die in the burning wreck, because Carl had heard Theo confess it himself through tears beside Billy's coffin. But instead of doing the right thing, Carl used that secret as leverage, agreeing to help Summer only if she gave him £10,000 from Billy's life insurance money. That was the moment his true nature was stripped bare. He was not only greedy, but someone who could exploit another person's grief for profit, turning Summer's love for her adoptive father into a tool for blackmail. When Debbie found out, she was shattered. Her fury was not just about money or betrayal, but about finally seeing Carl clearly for who he really was. The moment she screamed at him to get out of the flat marked a major psychological shift. Debbie was no longer a confused woman clinging to the fragile hope of a mother-son bond. She had become clear-headed enough to realize that the longer Carl stayed in her life, the more he would destroy her. Ronnie later confronted Carl directly in the Rovers and told him in no uncertain terms that he was making Debbie's dementia worse, ordering him to leave Weatherfield for good or be forced out. If Carl really does die at the wedding, Ronnie would naturally become suspect number one because he has the motive, and every reason in the world to want Carl gone. But what makes the situation even more dangerous is that Carl still refuses to stop. When Ronnie discovers that Carl is trying to pressure Debbie into signing over the hotel, he begs her not to give in. Meanwhile, Ryan is furious when Carl strolls into the hotel, helps himself to booze as if he owns the place, and Carl arrogantly claims that he does. Once Debbie learns about it, she immediately summons Carl and tells him outright that he is not getting the hotel. She will give him some cash, and after that, she never wants to see him again. And this time, Debbie truly follows through. At Carla and Lisa's wedding, she hands Carl an envelope of money and cuts him off completely. On the surface, it could look like freedom, like the moment Debbie finally takes back control of her own life. But that is also the point where Carl becomes most dangerous, because money was the last thing still tying him to any sense of stability, And once that is taken away, he has nothing left to lose. A man like Carl does not accept defeat quietly when he is cornered. He becomes reckless, aggressive, and more unpredictable than ever. That is what makes the possibility of Carl being murdered feel so real, because right now he is surrounded by people who all have a reason to want him gone. Debbie may be too hurt to forgive him. Ronnie wants to protect his wife. Kevin has every reason to hate him. Ryan is sick of his freeloading and manipulation. Summer has been exploited by him. Theo is being blackmailed by him. And there are surely others who have also reached the limit of what they can tolerate. A man like Carl does not usually die because of bad luck. He dies when every debt he has built up comes crashing down on him at once. Don't forget to subscribe so you can follow what happens next.